All right, today we're diving into one of the most controversial objects in all of art history, a urinal. Yeah, you heard that right, but stick with me because this isn't about plumbing. It's about an idea so powerful it literally turned the art world upside down and changed everything we thought we knew about what art even is.
And to kick things off, let's start with a modern take. The artist Damien Hirst called it the most punk rock work, a total middle finger to the establishment, and yet he also calls it a celebration. Now, how can it be both? That contradiction is exactly what we're going to get into. Because this was never just a joke. It's so much more clever than that.
Which really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How did a plumbing fixture, something you could just go buy at a store, end up being named the most influential artwork of the entire 20th century? I mean, it sounds completely absurd. But the real story, well, it's nothing short of brilliant.
So, to really get to the bottom of it, we have to start with the story most people already know. The common take on Marcel Duchamp's infamous piece, Fountain.
You've probably heard this one before, right? In 1917, the artist Marcel Duchamp buys a urinal, signs it with a fake name, R. Mutt, and tries to submit it to a big art show. Everyone sees it as this big anti-art statement, a prank designed to get a rise out of people. And then, poof, the original disappears almost immediately, so case closed. Just a clever joke. End of story.
But what if that whole story is wrong? Or at least, what if it's missing the real point? What if the key to this whole mystery isn't the object at all? The secret isn't the urinal, it's the location.
Okay, so let's jump back in time. We're in New York City, 1917, at a place called the Grand Central Palace. Now, this place was this huge hub for all kinds of massive trade shows. And this is where we find our first big clue.
So check out the timing here. Just before the big art exhibition was scheduled to happen, the Grand Central Palace was hosting other events. First, an automobile expo that one critic literally called a jumble of cars and trucks. Then, right after that, a hotel expo showcasing everything from milk agitators to, wait for it, model bathrooms complete with the latest porcelain fixtures. See where this is going?
Now, this part is absolutely key. Duchamp was on the organizing committee for the art show. That means he would have been going to the Grand Central Palace while these other chaotic trade shows were happening. He would have seen that jumble for himself. Cars, gadgets, and yes, even toilets, all mashed together in the same space. And that's when a light bulb went off.
And his big idea? Well, it had absolutely nothing to do with attacking art. It was about something much more profound. It was about showing everyone how art really works. And he was going to use that chaos he saw as his primary tool.
Okay, so just think about how radical this was. You go to a museum, and art is usually grouped together, right? By style, by historical period, whatever. It's meant to be a nice, harmonious experience. Well, Duchamp took that entire playbook and tossed it out the window. He arranged all 2,400 works of art alphabetically by the artist's last name. The result? Pure, intentional chaos.
And let me tell you, people were not happy about it. One famous artist at the time, Robert Henry, called it a disastrous hodgepodge. He said it was like listening to a beautiful Beethoven symphony and then suddenly cutting to a foxtrot, just total nonsense. He thought it was a huge organizational failure. But what he didn't realize was he was missing the entire point.
Because that jumble was the point. Duchamp was intentionally making the art show look and feel exactly like those commercial trade shows for cars and hotel equipment. He was taking this high-minded art exhibition and turning it into just another collection of objects for sale. But why would he do that?
Well, this is where we get to the absolute heart of his brilliant idea. See, he wasn't just messing with how paintings were hung on a wall. He was fundamentally redefining the very word art.
So let's follow his logic. If all that chaos was on purpose, what was he trying to get at? What happens when you get rid of all the things that normally scream, "This is art" at you? You know, the fancy frames, the quiet galleries, the carefully curated themes. What's left?
Well, this is what you're left with. Duchamp's incredible insight was that art isn't really a noun. It's not some magical quality that an object either has or doesn't have. No, he argued that art is a verb. It's an action. It's something that we do to an object. To art something just means to look at it harder, to ask questions about it, and most importantly, to start a conversation.
Just think about the Mona Lisa for a second. It started out as a pretty standard portrait of some merchant's wife. But over the centuries, we have arted it. We're the ones who've debated her smile, written songs about her, questioned her identity. We turned it into a global icon. The physical painting hasn't changed. Our actions around it have.
Okay, so now that we have this idea, art as a verb, let's go back to the urinal. And suddenly, it all clicks into place. It wasn't an attack. It was the ultimate test case for his theory.
You see, Fountain was never meant to be an attack on art. It was the complete opposite. It was a celebration of our own power, our own ability to take literally anything, even something as mundane as a urinal, and art it, to use it to spark new ideas and new conversations.
And we know this worked because the proof is right there in what happened next. The few people who actually saw the urinal back in 1917, they immediately started arting it. They didn't just dismiss it as a joke. No, they started talking about its spiritual beauty, comparing its curves to a statue of a Buddha or a Madonna. They saw it as this powerful symbol of sleek, efficient, American industrial design. They were already doing it.
And let's just bust this myth once and for all. Duchamp never thought of himself as some kind of anti-artist. In fact, he said, and I quote, "I'm nothing else but an artist, I'm sure, and delighted to be." He wasn't trying to blow art up. He was just trying to pull back the curtain and show us how it had been working all along. So Fountain wasn't a revolution, it was a revelation.
So, when you boil it all down, here's the most important takeaway. The urinal itself was never the art. The real work of art is the conversation. It's the 100+ years of arguments, debates, inspiration, anger, and analysis that this one object kicked off. That is the art.
And that leaves us with one final question for you. If art is really a verb, an action that we get to perform, then that means anything, literally anything, can become art. Your coffee cup, a traffic cone, a pair of old sneakers. The power isn't in the object, it's in us. It's in our choice to look closer and start a conversation. So the only question left is, what will you art today?